What's going on, everybody? Transcend here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we are hopping into some Monster Energy Supercross the Game 5, and we're going to be playing on Kellen, the owner of the Start Your Systems YouTube channel's Anaheim 2 replica track from the Supercross race this past weekend. He has been making some cool videos on his channel doing the replica tracks and kind of talking about the race and going over everything from his media side of things, and I kind of wanted to expand on that from a gamer who is serious about Monster Energy Supercross the game and has competed at the high levels, and see kind of if I could run the same pace that the pro guys are running in real life. So this past weekend, Chase Sexton actually set the fastest time of the night with a 57.7. And so I wanted to hop in here on Kellen's replica track and see if I could run anywhere near a 57.7, which did end up proving to be a little bit harder than I thought it was. You know, you kind of think maybe since it's a video game, you're going to be going faster than the pros would in real life. But that ended up not being the case. It was actually way harder than I thought it would be to run, you know, that fast. This track, you know, obviously some of the features are emphasized in comparison to real life. Some are a little bit slower on the game than they were in person. And then on top of that, you've got if you've played Monster Energy Supercross the Game 5, you know how bad the lappers are. The AI is absolutely ridiculous, and they're tanks. I don't know what they're made out of, but they are immovable objects. So if they get in your way, there's literally nothing that you can do about it. You're kind of just along for the ride. You'll see in here there's some times where I get together with some, and if you're on the outside of one of those AI and they're going to the outside of the corner from your inside, there's nothing you can do. You're going over the berm. It's not even a fight. There's just literally nothing you can do about it. So I figured it would be cool to do a 20-minute main on the realistic difficulty AI, and deal with the hardships of that and see how close we could get to running that 57.7 that Sexton put this past weekend. So MESX5, the game that I'm playing right now, actually came out last year. I want to say May, but it could have been March. I think it was May, though, because I feel like I remember it coming out like right as the Supercross season was ending last year. So I've been playing it for almost a year now, and it was pretty cool. This past year we had some competitive scenes in the PC league. We've got like Discord servers and stuff, and we've been running our own league races. We got the DMR series, which is really the staple PC league series. It's been around for years. I'm not sure how many of the games that they were doing the PC league racing on, but I know for sure that at least the past do, and that's kind of the main one that all the PC guys have been running. And then this past year, Triptez, who is the dude that runs all that, he was mentioning that he might not want to run it for this MESX5, and so the team that I'm actually on, Goon Squad Racing GSR, we made our own Discord server and started doing our own league races and stuff like that. So man, it was a blast this past year. We had a lot of people racing, and it was cool doing racing like that because it kind of adds a perspective on the game that you wouldn't have if you weren't having something to look forward to, because you can only do the career so many times before it's like, all right, I'm over it, and move on to the next game. But with the league racing, it really adds some incentive to continue to get better and try and beat out all the friends that are better than you realistically at the game, and you're trying to catch up to them and be as fast as them. And hopefully with this game, I feel like a lot of it comes down to how consistent you are and who makes the least mistakes. So sometimes even if you're not the fastest, you can get a win, and I was fortunate enough this year. I ended up actually getting a couple wins, I think, in the Ioma series, and then I think I got one in DMR too, but I might not have. It might have just been in the Ioma series, but definitely doing better than I was back on MESX4, and that was really cool. Another thing too was the ESX race that was this year. They had some unfortunate, for other people, unfortunate qualifications, I guess you could say, for people that were eligible. So it was limited to 18 plus and then inside the continental US only. So some of the dudes that are really fast on PC are from like Brazil and out of the country, and unfortunately they weren't able to make it to the ESX final. But to be devil's advocate, I kind of reaped the benefit of that, because even though I'm not the fastest dude, I ended up being the fastest dude that was 18 plus and inside the continental US. So I ended up qualifying, first on PC for the ESX final, and it was really cool. They flew us all out to Anaheim 1 for the opening race of the real Supercross series, and took great care of us, and we got to basically have a whole LAN party set up inside the pits and compete right around the same time as like the freestyle show. So there was a huge crowd right in front of us as we're playing this game that we're all used to playing sitting in our rooms alone, and we're all battling back and forth but with nobody there. And then when we were at the race, at the event, it was like anytime anyone would crash or make like a cool pass or anything, you could hear the crowd like roar or like oh. And man, it was just so cool. It was an experience that I mean, hopefully I get to do it again next year, but if not, it's certainly something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I mean, the fact that me playing this cool dirt bike video game after racing dirt bikes my whole life, playing this game is what ended up basically giving me a full ride to A1, and the whole hookup. So life's crazy, man. It was super cool, and all because of this game. And it's, all of our love for dirt bikes and stuff. So huge shout out to the Feld guys and the Battlefy and Milestone and, the whole team, everybody that put work into that, because, man, it was such a cool experience for all of us. And, I know we're all super grateful for everything that we were able to participate in. So this Anaheim 2 track was like the most video game type track I think I've ever seen in a real life Supercross event. And because of that, it honestly made it a little bit weird on who to pick for fantasy. I don't know if you guys play any of the PulpMX fantasy stuff, but I got into it with some friends this year, and so we've been doing it, and it's kind of fun. It puts a little bit of extra pizzazz on the race whenever you're watching it on Saturday night, rather than just being invested in your favorite rider or this, that, and the other. You're invested in the 11th place guy, because he's the one that's going to make you the most points in the night, not even the guy that's going to win. So man, I've been having a blast doing that, and I think I had my best race actually this past weekend on A2. I think I scored like 250 points or something, which isn't too bad. I had a couple cool picks. My picks were, I'll show them up here on the screen, but it was for 250s, it was Kitchen, and then I also had Hunter Yoder, I had Enzo Lopes, and I had Max Voland. And honestly, I had a gut feeling that Kitchen was going to absolutely kill it on Saturday night. I felt like he really had something to prove after going down on the start last week. And I was telling my buddies, I was like, look, I'm just saying I don't remember. I don't think they had him picked as an all-star, but there's a bunch of rules with picking and who scores the most points. But basically, if it's not an all-star and he finishes in the top 10, then he gets like a ton of points. And I was like, oh, he's not an all-star. He is realistically a top dude that should be finishing up front. And he's, now he's got this chip on his shoulder of like, oh, I got to get a good result for the team, because he's basically the dude this year in the 250 class on the Yamaha team. And I was like, oh, I know it. I know he's going to kill it. So I was really stoked. Kitchen it up, I think, earned me the most points of the night. And then Hunter Yoder killed it last week. He looked really good, really aggressive. So for kind of a more privateer pick, he was a no-brainer for me. And then I had Enzo Lopes, who, honestly, I was a little bit bummed. I was really expecting him to get a podium. He has been extremely fast this year. And I was listening to Pulp, the podcast this past week, and I know that he was fighting some arm pump stuff. I guess there was something wrong with his elbow or shoulder or something. I don't exactly remember, but he got that fixed in the off season this year, and so I guess that's kind of the reason that the speed's always been there, but he's been struggling to hold on, kind of like AC the past couple of years. He had that arm surgery, I think a year or two ago. Shoot, time's flying. It could have been 2 years by now, but AC had to get an arm surgery too because he was having the same issues of, not being able to hold on to the handlebars. So, Lopes this year, I'm really hoping that he, I hope he gets a win. Honestly, he's been killing it, looking really good. So, I think kind of as far as being under the radar, but also potentially could get a win. He's right there, and I really hope that happens. But unfortunately, did not happen last week. So, lost some points on my pick there with Lopes. And then my final pick in 250 was Max Voland. And honestly, Voland was kind of the same story as what I said for Kitchen. He's the KTM guy for the 250 class. And because of that red flag and the staggered start last week, he ended up kind of getting shafted and didn't make the main last week. So, when I was making my picks, I was just kind of thinking like, oh, he's got to have a fire. He's got to be so pissed off that, he's on a factory team and didn't make the main. I know I would be. And, he ended up getting 4th place overall. So that was really cool. The fact that he went from not making the main to getting 4th overall in the Triple Crown was, I hesitate to say impressive because he shouldn't not be making the main. But, as far as recoveries and bouncing back goes, he hasn't ever really been much of a Supercross guy. So, hey, it seems like he's got the momentum going in the right direction. So hopefully he can keep it up. I think he's got a big opportunity with where he's at. So, hopefully he doesn't kind of throw it away because it kind of feels like lately, obviously I don't know the whole story. I'm just a dude watching, just a fan, but from sitting on the outside in, it's like, man, he's kind of got to step it up, and do something before they're like, oh, all right, who's next? That's just, it's nothing personal. It's just business. So, but yeah, no, I was expecting him to do good just because of that fact. He's got something to prove. And I don't know, that emotional insight, kind of what makes it fun sometimes with the fantasy picks of like, oh, I know what this dude went through. This is probably what he's thinking. So that's why I'm going to pick this, not necessarily because he was the fastest or looked the best in practice or, anything like that. But nothing except for the fact that like, oh, I know this dude's pissed off and he wants to prove himself. So I bet he kills it tonight. That stuff is so fun to me when doing the fantasy stuff. And then for 450s, I was a little less invested. I was more so just picking off of statistical stuff, Sexton, Benny Bloss, Dean Wilson, and Justin Hill. My boy Benny Bloss, I actually grew up racing with him. Super solid dude, really good guy, and insanely talented on a dirt bike. Long, lanky dude, can basically manipulate the bike to do whatever he wants. He's just, he's had a tough couple years with injuries and stuff, but I'm hoping he can get some momentum going because, man, that dude's talented and he can really do something. He's gotten some good finishes in outdoors and stuff, and he just hasn't been able to keep up the momentum. He's had injuries, so kind of the all too familiar story with Moto. It's it's a bit of a shit show sometimes. So, but hey, I was stoked. He made the main and finished the night. Ended up 18th, so it's a building block. I know he obviously wants to do better. Everybody does, but you got to start somewhere, and especially when you've been kind of plagued with injuries and stuff, like you kind of got to take what you can get. Kind of like the annoying recurring thing with AC right now of like he's been off and had all these surgeries and he's got to rebuild his career, so that's why he's not fighting as hard as he used to be, or maybe even should be. I'm not sure if that's the right phrase, but you kind of, when you're in that position, you got to take what you can get, and a finish is a finish. You're still competing with the best dudes in the world and putting it where it needs to be. You're top 20, 18th. That's not something to not be proud about, however the correct phrasing of that is. He's still killing it, And then for Justin Hill, I honestly, I was looking at qualifying, and I think he qualified like 8th or something. And so I was like really stoked on it. But, I guess maybe he's just a good qualifier. I think he went 14, 13, 17 in the mains. So obviously nowhere near an 8th. And I was hoping maybe, qualify 8th. you know, maybe he'll get a good start and do better than 8th, which, I mean, Justin Hill, another dude who's just insanely talented. I mean, the whole field is, but yeah, Justin's a good dude too, and man, it kind of an interesting career, you know, of being from PC, and then he kind of took some time off and doing his own thing, and then now he's back. And I mean, 14th, I mean, he's up there, man. And especially if he's qualifying 8th, I feel like maybe it's only a matter of time, you know, before he does something crazy, gets a wild hair, and has this insane finish. So some solid points. And then I had Dean Wilson as well, who is just a consecutive, consistent, you know, 9th to 14th guy. And so he had a decent handicap, and I was like, you know, got to go with Dino. So like I said, it was really just statistical, going by handicaps and qualifying times and how I thought they would finish. Wasn't near as much, I guess, insight as what I was going with and why I made my picks in the 250 class. But I mean, either way, there was some crazy racing on Saturday night. The track was just insane. So it actually looked really fun. You know, there's some tracks, especially the beginning of this year, I feel like a lot of the tracks have looked not fun at all. Like, I mean, A1 just looked miserable with the rain and how deteriorated it got. And then San Diego looked really tight and just kind of like it was hard to get a flow in. And then, I mean, A2, this track just looked fun. It had some big jumps, you know, the doubles and then the rhythm sections where you were hitting quads. And I mean, it just looked fun. Obviously, some of those rhythm sections came up to bite some people. You know, Tomac had a huge get off. He absolutely ate shit. I mean, I have not seen Tomac eat it that hard since, I guess, Thunder Valley on Geico, whenever he messed himself up in both his shoulders and stuff. I mean, he went flying. He got ragdolled, and he looked a pretty kind of just startled, stumbled, you know, a little bit like Stu back in Daytona when he went over the bars and couldn't really get on the bike, you know? I mean, he kind of just looked like out of it, you know, like it knocked him a little silly. But I'm hoping it doesn't affect his confidence, because Tomac has just been on another level this year, and it'd be cool to see him, you know, whether it's his last year or not, but if it is, see him go out on top. You know, I feel like a lot of people in the sport hang on for a long time just because it's, you know, it's fun and they have a blast, but it would be cool to see Tomac go out on top. You know, I mean, he kind of looks like he's in his best form ever, at least since his Thunder Valley crash, at least, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, track's cool, and I mean, Kellen did a really good job on this track in MESX5 as well. Been having a blast. Obviously struggling with the lappers, as I warned you about at the beginning of the video. These people don't move. Just AP is an absolute tank, Barsha's an absolute tank, Dino's an absolute tank. There's no winning. So you kind of just have to avoid it. And luckily, it's kind of comedic on this game how bad the AI is at private or at custom tracks. Like, they literally go off the track, and then you'll see, like, at the finish, you know, they've been just jumping over the berm. It's like they don't know where the track is. So I'm not sure what the coding is there, but it's certainly interesting for custom tracks. So far, only been able to run 1:02, which I think was a really good lap. I maybe could get a little faster if I hit some low lines, you know, like on the left side of this rhythm section and whatnot, but I mean, I might be able to get it into the 59s, but I don't think I could get it any lower than that, to be honest with you. That 57, like I said, insanely fast. Like, obviously, like this double section, I mean, there's some sections that are a little slower in game than they were in real life, but man, it really is just a testament to how fast these dudes are going in real life, because I'm hitting stuff and scrubbing things unrealistically, cutting corners, you know, doing all these things like you would in a video game, and they're still going faster than I am, you know, in person. So kind of crazy to think about. And yeah. Like I said, you know, Kellen did a really good on this track. I had a really good time playing it and putting in some laps and going off the track, eating shit, dealing with lappers, dealing with game physics like that. I mean, Jesus, Craig, as far as games go, and, you know, custom tracks within this game, this was one of my favorites, honestly. I mean, we even had a whole custom track series in the PC League earlier in the year. And by the way, I will put a link to the Discords if you're on PC and are thinking about getting into Monster Energy Supercross the Game 6, which is coming out before long. I know for a fact we're going to be doing the league racing and series and stuff like that. So if that's something you're interested in and joining the league and doing some racing, I will leave a link to those Discords, both the DMR and the GSR Discord, so that if you want to compete and do some racing, you certainly can. But yeah, big shout out to Kellen. I appreciate him putting in the work doing this track, putting in the work giving me the idea for this video. You know, I had a blast, and like I said, kind of trying to put more of a not to hate on Kellen. I don't want to, you know, I'm not downplaying Kellen, but more of like a fast, you know, tone of the gameplay, and actually trying to put in a hot lap, you know. Obviously that comes with mistakes. These custom tracks can be really hard to stay on the track on. But I think a minute point 2 is pretty good. If you guys watch this video and you play MESX5, give it a shot. Check out Kellen's Anaheim 2 replica track in the custom tracks on the single events or multiplayer or whatever, and see what you can put. See if you can do faster than a minute .224, because man, I was feeling confident. I felt like I had a pretty good lap, you know, and hit all the lines, but maybe I didn't. I'd be curious. Let me know. Let me know in the comments what you guys ran, and then let me know in the comments also if you guys play fantasy at all. What were your picks this last weekend, and what are you thinking for next weekend going into Houston? You know, you got anybody that you got your eyes on that you're wanting to pick? Let me know. Maybe I'll start up a league and we can, you know, compare points and do some battling within the community that I'm gonna build here, you know. So anyways, that's gonna be it for me. 1 minute .224, only a short 18 seconds faster than the rest of the field on realistic difficulty. So something slight. I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.